Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm Joe Cassidy, Associate Vice President for Workforce and Economic Development. And we're so glad you could take a day out of your busy summer to be here with us. We have a great set of presenters, and then we're going to hear directly from you in the second part of the presentation as to challenges and opportunities before you. To get us officially started, I would like to welcome up our president, Dr. Mudassir Siddiqui. He's the 8th president of College of DuPage. In addition to his higher education experience, which includes Vice Chancellor of Innovation and Technology, President of a community college in the Houston system, he also has 20 years of industry experience in manufacturing as an engineer. So we thought, who better than to get us started today? He's new, but he is experienced, and he is a big advocate of what the work you're doing. So please, Dr. Siddiqui.
Good morning. Thanks, Dr. Cassidy, for organizing this wonderful event. It is so encouraging to see stakeholders here this morning at COD to talk about something that is very critical to U.S. economy, and that is manufacturing. It is not the issue of U.S. economy, but it is a matter of our global competitiveness. So I would say let's work together. As Joe mentioned before joining higher education, that has been my passion. I serve in manufacturing industry for, it's not 20 years, I'm not so old. Yeah, it's 12 years. And during my tenure in the manufacturing sector, I served production, product design, supply chain, different areas of manufacturing. Also CAD designing and other things. And so I have both perspective as an employer perspective and as a higher education leader perspective. From employer perspective, I cannot tell you how much problem we experienced in finding qualified workforce in manufacturing. I remember there was a breakdown in our welding robotics production line. It took us 2 months to hire a PLC technician, program logic controller. And I cannot tell you how many calls I made to hire a person. We increased the salary, could not find the right person. And then we worked with Harper Community College and requested to, because the company I used to work in the Harper College district, requested to produce more qualified technicians for our CNC machining labs, welding programs, and also CAD and architectural design. So from higher education perspective, I see a lot of opportunities. I can see tremendous opportunity, and this is one example. All the stakeholders are here to work together, committed to work together to produce a talent pipeline in manufacturing. So I see a lot of promises, a lot of potential in higher education. COD offers a variety of programs, as you all know that. Certificate program, degree program, associate degree program. Students always have opportunity to advance, go further for their education. They can go to the job market. And these programs are also connected with industry credentials. So you can see the skills are visible. I would say that the urgency is real in terms of development of workforce in manufacturing. Some data and some survey results are very encouraging. Recently, Deloitte and Manufacturing Institute, which is a part of National Manufacturing Association, conducted a survey and identified a need of 3.8 million manufacturing jobs by 2033. However, nearly half of these jobs, almost 1.9 million, could go unfilled if we do not act now to close skills and application gap. This is the problem. The workforce remains the #1 concern for 65% of manufacturers in the survey. And you know, National Manufacturer Association is a huge organization, thousands of members based in DC. And I think that's why this summit is so timely. And that's why we are here. As I said, at the College of DuPage, we are at the forefront of contributing towards the economic development of the region, including producing graduates who are qualified to serve competitive manufacturing. The good thing is many students who are coming to our door, Generation Z, they are digital native. And it is very compatible or aligned with modern manufacturing, because modern manufacturing is pretty much digitized, you know, with this digital twin and remote sensing and all kind of technology. You guys know better than me. We are working on apprenticeship program. Right now we have 70 apprentices in 15, across the 15 degree programs. We are trying to build our strong base in apprenticeship program, including manufacturing and technology and maintenance, industrial maintenance and others, supply chain. Through Innovation DuPage, our partner, Business Development Center and customized contract training, we offer comprehensive and flexible solutions that cater to the needs of traditional manufacturers and advanced technology sector. So the message is, let's work together and contribute and develop a talent pipeline to serve modern manufacturing. As I said before, let me repeat myself. This is not the issue of College of DuPage. This is not the issue of DuPage County. It's the issue of national competitiveness and USA positioning in industrial and developed economic world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Siddiqui. Clearly, Dr. Siddiqui understands the critical intersection of education and industry. A couple quick housekeeping notes. Restrooms are right outside this room. Refreshments on this side of the room. Please make yourself comfortable as we're going through the day. We'll have some optional tours at the end of the presentation. I see Dave Ellis, Janice Kaushal. You have to go see our facilities if you haven't already, related to manufacturing. Oh, and I guess I'll start clicking ahead here. I want to say thank you to our partners, our presenters and sponsors. You'll hear from a number of these folks momentarily, but today is made possible in part by the Make It in Illinois campaign. We were connected to this campaign through Illinois Innovation Network, a University of Illinois project. Jeanette Tamayo represents, she's in the room. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for connecting universities and community colleges to get at all of what Dr. Siddiqui just described. After our presenters, Kate Calabra from the Illinois Institute of Science and Technology Association, no association, just ISTC, will lead us through a session to hear directly from you what challenges and opportunities are out there. So we've got a great panel today of folks who are committed to your success. They have access to amazing resources. They have access to a larger network. We want to try to put some of that before you today and then hear directly from you as to how we can continue to be of help. At this time, perhaps our panel can join us, and I'll just briefly let you know who's here. Please, we have Chris Heckel, Director of Materials Manufacturing Innovation at Argonne. Also, Marcia Rogers, Business Manager of Materials Manufacturing Center at Argonne. We have Amy Destache from NICOR. She's a Senior Director there. She's going to talk to us about some programs, energy programs for manufacturers. Patrick Osborne is the President and CEO of the Technology Manufacturing Association. Patrick's going to talk about what TMA does for manufacturing. Last but certainly not least, we have Willette LeGrant, District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration, who's going to talk to us about programs and things that their organization is doing to help our Illinois and U.S. manufacturers. So I'm going to try to go through very quickly a couple of the programs and things that Dr. Siddiqui just mentioned. But I first have to just put in a plug for Illinois. We all talk about our challenges, and we have challenges, and we have things to improve. But this area that we're in, the greater Chicago metropolitan statistical area, is the third largest in the country. Very diverse economic clusters, major Fortune 500, but also lots of small businesses that are powerhouses in making things. leading research universities, 2 of the 17 national laboratories, major TDL hub, abundant natural resources, great infrastructure, affordable power, second largest manufacturing workforce in the US, largest manufacturing inventory period in the US. A colleague from Argonne, John Carlisle, used to say, this is where we get things done, the Midwest. And it's absolutely true, and this room knows that more than other folks. Again, looking at Illinois' economy, you may know this, but we're the 5th largest economy in the country. Okay, that's great. But if we stack up the Illinois economy against global economies, we're the 19th largest economy in the world, somewhere right between Turkey and Saudi Arabia. So we have a lot to fix and improve, but we also have a lot of capabilities. Today, we're talking about collaboration, conversation between organizations. Where can we go if we get better at all of that? The college has decades of commitment to workforce and economic development. Dr. Siddiqui mentioned we've been training students. That's our largest contribution probably to the economy. We've educated over 1 million students in degree programs since we opened in 1967. Spring alone, we had just shy of 30,000 degree-seeking students. Last fiscal year 25, we had 34,000 continuing education students, whether it's professional development in your organizations or working with 5-year-olds to start talking to them about career futures. And then we keep increasing our commitment to small businesses. Your small businesses hire our graduates, you give back to your communities. It's a huge part of what makes this region and this country so powerful. At the college, we have, again, hopefully you'll go on these tours in a little bit to see some of our facilities and capabilities, but we have degree programs in manufacturing as well as shorter certificate programs that will help your future talent pool, but also upskill your current workers. Dr. Siddiqui mentioned apprenticeships, customized contract training, gel certs here pretty much from West Chicago every term. They don't have to shut down their production line. They come work with our professors and keep their business going without having to shut down. And then we have free adult basic education in English language acquisition, so we are committed to advancing your workforce. The college's economic development focus goes back to our opening in 1967. At the same time, the founders had the vision to create continuing education, realizing that the majority of taxpayers and residents are not traditional college-age degree-seeking students. So from the beginning, we were committed to what are we going to do for the total community. If you have time today, stop by our Arts Center and see an internationally acclaimed art exhibit. So we know that we have to be a comprehensive college in addition to all we do within the classroom. In 1979, we founded Business Solutions, Contract Training, Corporate College. 1984, we founded the Business Development Center, which houses the SBDC, the Apex Accelerator, and International Trade Center. And then in 2010, we started looking at what more could we do for regional business. And after a number of smaller grants, focus groups, and research, the thing that kept surfacing was business incubation and acceleration. So in 2018, after years of research and experimenting, we opened the business incubator known as Innovation DuPage. Its headquarters opened in the Civic Center in Glen Ellen in 2019. I mentioned the Business Development Center. This is the foundation to the incubator and to much of what we do. You can see here in the past 20 years, this small team has helped create thousands of businesses, business expansions, business acquisitions, about 10,000 jobs either created or retained, and no less than $6.6 billion in economic impact. Most, if not all of what they do is absolutely free to you. It's funded by the college, DCO, and the federal government, because we know if businesses thrive, our community thrives. Just last year, the BDC helped regional small businesses to the tune of about $70 million in capital, government contracts, and export. They served over 6,000, or provided over 6,000 consultations, registered 404 new businesses that they hadn't been working with, supported 64 business launches, starts, created no less than 300 jobs. So this is a powerful impact that the college and our partners support. The incubator, Innovation DuPage, celebrating 6 years. You can see in the chart here the growth over the past 3 years. They've had over 400 companies in residence. Any ID member companies in the audience today? We've got a couple. These are companies who have plugged into our network for the benefit of what they're doing. We have 165 active members representing some $46 million in annual revenue, some 850 jobs, and we're very proud that Innovation DuPage, like the College of DuPage, is doing a great job of serving traditionally underserved business owners. Our corporate sponsors, the college, DuPage Foundation, all of our sponsors help us provide these services at very small cost or free. So we scholarship a lot of things, including our youth programming, where we talk to the next generation of entrepreneurs. And we do that while taking zero equity stake in companies. A lot of incubators say we want 5% of your future business to do what we're doing. We're in a position we can do it for absolutely free or near free. We are industry agnostic, so we serve Main Street companies, restaurants, hot sauce makers, board game makers, all the way up to the next generation battery, potentially for the Air Force. We have a company here who, Arden Warner, is principal scientist and co-founder of Natural Science. He's shaking hands there with the CEO of Midwest Trading Horticultural Supplies, another Illinois company. That Illinois company is now manufacturing the peat moss media that removes oil from big spills. This is an incredible example because you have technology coming out of one of the labs. You have the founders working with not only Innovation DuPage, they're a winner of the Nicor Gas Innovation Award. So they got some funding from Nicor. They benefited from support of the University of, it says Illinois, but I actually should say the University of Chicago. I saw Bill getting nervous back there. That should say the University of Chicago Polsky Center. But here's a company that is plugging into all the resources, and I want to show you what they're up to. Whoop. Josh, are you helping me?
According to the U.S. Department of Energy, 1.3 million gallons of petroleum spill into U.S. waters from vessels and pipelines alone in a typical year. Natural Science LLC has created a significant breakthrough in the cleanup of oil spills by developing an important tool for combating these environmental disasters and industrial spills. EMOP is a new technology that uses an electromagnetic-based approach for oil spill remediation designed to be environmentally safe. First, the oil on water is seeded with micron-sized magnetite particles. Next, pulsed electromagnets, known as E-boom, trap and guide this oil that has thus been rendered magnetic. The magnetized fluid that arrives at the output of the E-boom is collected by a magnetic ramp with greater than 97% efficiency. Water is rejected at the ramp's interface with the E-boom, while the magnetized oil is delivered to a separation container. The EMOP oil recovery system from Natural Science can be deployed for both water and land-based needs. Innovative, efficient, scalable, and safe. A significant breakthrough in the cleanup of oil spills.
So this is, of course, an example of a company that can literally change the world. They're working with Trinidad and Tobago right now, working on an overturned oil tanker spill. But we also have, I don't know if they're here yet, we have COD students who are working on a strap that they're hoping to manufacture in Illinois that connects your laptop bag to your luggage. So the scale of ideas and possibilities is great. Another program to mention here are a couple DCEO-funded Climate and Equitable Jobs Act grants. Everything we're going to talk about is energy dependent. If we're not more efficient and if we're not thinking about the future of energy, then we're going to lag as a state and as a country. The first grant we were awarded by DCEO is related to training people to enter into the energy field. It was actually started by Waubonsie. I think we have at least a colleague here from Waubonsie today. But we have 6 of our community colleges working together and working with our faculty on campus and working with industry partners, Nicor Gas, community-based organizations, Aurora University, all trying to make the entryway into energy easier for targeting everyone, but especially underserved populations. The second part of, or the second grant we've been awarded is really based on the work we're doing at Innovation DuPage. You can see a list of companies here that are ID member companies that are energy and science related. And this program works on the employer side. It's all about helping startups and small businesses grow, launch and or grow and build out Illinois' capabilities in the field. So I went quickly through a lot that's happening here. Most of what I talked about, there are tables on the side, from project hire head on apprenticeships, contract training, Innovation DuPage. Go see what we're up to, because all of it is there to help you and help us, frankly. I want to turn it over to my colleagues from Argonne, and I'll give you the clicker. But Chris and Marcia will get us started.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marcia Rogers, and I am involved with the Materials Manufacturing Innovation Center, which is only about 2.5 years old. You'll find that both Chris and I are the original team, and Argonne started the Materials Manufacturing Innovation Center to be that bridge between our science and technology and the business world and the world of manufacturing. But we all know in this room, you can't get very far if you don't have good relationships. And so I would like to just say thank you, Dr. Siddiqui. You've walked into a great situation here. You have a great team. And to Joe and to his team, thank you so much for putting this on. This conversation started on May 1st with a roundtable where Joe said, we'll host it. And so we came together to try to problem solve around some of these difficult areas for manufacturers. But before I go too far, I want to introduce some colleagues from Argonne who are here and ask you to give them all the tough questions today, okay, that you have. We have Robin Wheeler-Grange. Robin, would you stand? And Mariceli Ramirez-Hernandez. And many of you in the room may be familiar with Sarah Higgins because she's very active with the DuPage world out here, but Sarah Higgins from Government Affairs. And I'll introduce Chris in just a moment. But we want to thank this team here because we came together to try to problem solve, and it led to this wonderful conference opportunity. But even more than that, some really important introductions. And I think we started early on getting to know the Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center and the Illinois Manufacturers Association, and then we were introduced to Greg Bedelov. And all things start with Greg here. And from there, many wonderful introductions happened, and culminating with us meeting with Joe and then Kate Calabra as well. So thank you very much. I'm going to introduce Chris Heckel. Chris is the director of the Materials Manufacturing Innovation Center at Argonne. She is a materials scientist by background with a long and established record in leading wonderful projects both at Corning Corporation and here at Argonne. So Chris.
Thank you. I don't know how many people know about the National Lab System because I've been on the Makers on the Move bus tour for the past 2 years. And when we drive around the state and I get 2 minutes and I say that Illinois has 2 national labs, I often get a whoa kind of a reaction. So I wanted to just start with that there are 17 labs operated for the benefit of the Department of Energy around the country. And they can be broken up into kind of science-oriented labs and technology-oriented labs. And some are single purpose and some are multi-purpose. And so this is, I think, a really helpful graphic. Argonne is a multi-purpose lab, so we have both basic science work as well as applied research work, and some of our sister labs are in kind of the same area. So this is just a useful, I think, introduction to the 17 national labs. Argonne, you may know, established in 1946 as a part of the Manhattan Project, the first continuous reaction, chain reaction of a nuclear experiment was the Chicago Pile 1. And if you ever get a chance to come to the lab, we have a great nuclear history exhibit in Building 208. So pretty fun to see the letter from Einstein to the president saying we have to get something done, and the reaction, no pun intended, was to establish the Manhattan Project, and then Argonne came out of that. You'll often hear that Argonne is the first national lab. You'll also hear other labs take that credit. And they like to take that credit because their facility was in operation longer, but ours was the first designated national lab. So in case you ever hear somebody say that. We work to accelerate science and technology for the nation. And that can be pivotal discoveries using our amazing unparalleled facilities like the Advanced Photon Source. This is a particle accelerator that generates X-rays, brightest X-rays in North America. And I've heard our lab director describe it as bigger than Wrigley Field. And this is at an event that Robin hosted. And people went, whoa. And then a representative, I think Jackson, said, it's Wrigley Field. It's not that big. So I think we also have a supercomputer, so if you have a lot of data and you need access to supercomputers to help, we've got a number of supercomputers. But what we want to talk about here today is the collaborations, opportunity to collaborate with the lab. I think maybe we haven't done such a great job over our history in building outreach locally. We have some, but we'd like to do more. We'd especially like to do more with small and medium companies. So that's what drove us to have this conversation Marcia was talking about. We're a fairly large organization. More than $1 billion flows through the doors every year. We have about 3,800 permanent employees. But with those amazing facilities that we own and maintain and operate for people to use, about another 7,000 people come through our doors every year. We're organized into 6 directorates. There's one on photon sciences, computer, environmental life sciences, nuclear technology and national security, the physical sciences and engineering, as well as advanced energy technologies. And then the directorate that kind of pulls it all together is science and technology partnerships and outreach, where the 3 colleagues report through. So, and we have a very robust summer intern program, more than 800 students. In fact, this year, I think we welcomed 1,000 students to the lab for the summer. So a significant amount of activity focused on what we're now calling, I've heard, K through gray workforce development. I'm going to turn it back to Marcia.
So my job is to try to make us be more approachable and easy to work with, and we've given you all these large numbers. But I'm going to continue with that, because what we want to impress upon you here is that Argonne has a history of working with everything from startup companies all the way to Fortune 500 companies. So we put this slide on here really just to illustrate the categories: energy and transportation, companies in information technology, manufacturing, nuclear, as Chris had said, pharmaceuticals, and then of course quantum information science. So these are the companies that we, just examples of companies, but really from small startups all the way through. But like Chris said, we're really wanting to talk with you about collaborations, because there are ways that we're trying to make everyone aware of ways you can work with Argonne. You know, we are part of the Department of Energy, and this is a very interesting time. But the DOE will continue to have funding opportunities, and as those come through, it's going to be really important for Argonne to be looking for cost-share partners, for looking for projects that really move the needle forward in the energy sector. And there are those funding opportunities, and those will continue. So DOE funding opportunities is one example. Collaborative research and development, both parties end up bringing resources to this. So there are ways that companies and the lab can work together to move their research and development together. And then there's R&D by Argonne, where a company pays us to do the R&D work for that company. Then we're a national user facility, so research can be kept proprietary if the user covers the cost for using Argonne's facility. So that's another way. Use our labs, use our space, and we can come up with an arrangement for that. And then lastly, there's a licensing opportunity to license Argonne's technology. And so for that, we turn to Maricelli, who is really doing quite a bit, because you know, you've heard that the national labs are very complicated to work with, but we are really breaking that down. And she's been leading a group that's looking at how to take our very complex application systems and streamline them. And I think we're really excited about the future to serve, as Chris said, small to medium manufacturers. Now, we've been really aware that Argonne needs to play a more significant role in manufacturing, and that's our job. But we really believe that there are opportunities, and we've been wanting to create more of a manufacturing solutions fund, or a support fund that could bring companies that are having, manufacturers that are having issues to Argonne, connect our scientists to them, and then solve some problems. But everybody needs to be paid along the way. So we've been looking for how we could expand that kind of a fund, perhaps through the legislature, which of course Argonne can't advocate, but everyone in this room can. And then along the way, we meet Kate Calabra and realize what she's doing, the tremendous work with her Illinois voucher program, and how we would love to see that expanded to include national labs. But you know, we see creating this fund with centralized funding from external to the DOE, so we can see that if you can solve a problem for one company in one sector, you can solve it for many companies. And we think that's where the real dollars and opportunity to help manufacturers across a large volume should involve the DOE. We see engaging with multiple small companies and medium companies via an application process that we hope to make simplified. We're going to target some selected areas to begin with. And as I said to you, we're really working to streamline that process. So we want to have this lead to cost share partners, more future collaborations, and of course, new program identification along the way. If we can solve one problem, we should be able to solve more. And I think it's a wonderful marriage of manufacturing and our science and technology. Our teams are very excited about this at Argonne. So we, as I indicated earlier, Chris and I started out with relationships with IMEC and IMA, and along the way learned about the industries in Illinois with the highest growth, which you see here on the left, those symbols. And that's fairly self-explanatory, but when we really tried to narrow it down, we wanted to try to target how we could look at helping these small to medium, because that seems to be where the gap in service is. So we took the I-80, we took the corridor, and we took like 55, and we took 88, and we looked at a range 5 miles above and below. And with the help of World Business Chicago and Cook County and these other organizations, we came up with 554 companies. And you can see the sectors that they're in. And I think we have the science and technology to support all of these industries: iron and steel, plastics, electrospinning, concrete, chemicals, abrasives, semiconductors, and battery manufacturing. So there has to be a better way for us to be able to work together. And as Chris said, we're changing the way we look at being a better partner in Illinois and also across the country. So those are the industries that we're targeting, for starters. Chris.
And so what do we think that we have that we could do? What would be beneficial? You know, the lab is a really big place, as I described earlier. So we tried to pick 4 focus areas that we hope would be really useful to companies based on the assessment. And so an example of skills and technology and people is characterization of wastes or processes, especially with critical materials, to help reduce the waste. So if there's a way to recover some of it or reuse some of it and find out if there's any value in the waste, that's something that we could work with you on. We also have a lot of physics and AI-based models to understand defects or yield or quality. So if you're running your process and there's some defect that comes up and you're trying to understand, we could come in with our modelers and create a quick view to try to understand where some defects might be coming from, especially chemical mixing, flame spray, electrospinning, HVAC, burners, combined heat and power, combustion. Like, we already have ready to go kind of models in those spaces. The third area that we hope would be useful would be coatings or surface engineering for high wear or corrosion or tribology. So if you're having a tool that wears out faster than you think it should, and it's costing a lot of money to kind of replace a new, extruder or auger or something like that, maybe we could work with you to try to understand why that tool is wearing down so quickly, and if there's a coating or surface engineering method that could increase the lifetime of it. Or maybe you're making some kind of complex parts and you want to know if some coating would value add. So we could do a bunch of different kinds of test case coatings and then see if it expands your business. So those are 4 kind of ideas that we have so far. We're interested to see if there are other needs, like if these are not needs in the community, then we would kind of go back to the drawing board. And then we have a case study. So we were working with a local metals processor who was paying to landfill their waste. It was hazardous, but they also wanted to know, does it have value? So we received some amount of material from them. We characterized the waste, and then based on knowing what it was, developed this specialized purification process, which is essentially kind of a melt float process. So we fluxed the material, and the high purity stuff came to the top, and the waste goes to the bottom, and we skim off the top the good stuff. So we were able to do that. The company that we talked to, they're pretty excited. They think that it could be like another business activity for them would be to take in other people's waste and purify it, as well as to be able to reuse it, like cull it in their own internal process. So here's an example of work we did with a company where we identified kind of the critical issue and developed a path. But in order to do something more, we're seeking external funding, maybe from one of their customers, that we would purify enough their material that they could feed it back, make parts, and then demonstrate that those parts worked in application. So that's a case study that we had. So the question that we want to leave you with as we move forward with the rest of the agenda is something like this at the lab of interest to you all and Illinois manufacturers? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How many here have participated in the utility energy efficiency program? Show of hands. All right. So my name is Amy Dustash. I'm with the Nicor Gas Energy Efficiency Program, and we're here to save energy on the natural gas side. So there's probably 5, 6 programs that you can engage with, but here are some of the things on the agenda: commercial and industrial rebates, custom incentives. We have free facility assessments. Strategic energy management is another program that we offer, and then questions if you have questions on it. So commercial industrial rebates. So if you do a project that saves natural gas, always think of your fuel type, right? So it's natural gas, it's a boiler, they have rebates. If it meets the specifications on it, it's cut and dried, it's a rebate. So you do the project, you file 90 days after for the rebate, and we send you money for that. So some of the things that we have on here are furnace replacement, boilers, boiler burner upgrades, replacement, you know, different things on that you can do and get money on. And there's efficiency type improvements. And one of the things for my manufacturing companies that engage in the programs are if they have air compressors, air-cooled air compressors running, if you can capture that heat back, we pay $50 per horsepower on that, you know, as a rebate, which is a good payback in ROI. There's other things on here that certainly don't pertain, but just know that there's a lot. And I would encourage you always go to the website for your utility, look up ways to save, and kind of peruse the website on what's offered. Then we have the tune-up rebates, right? So boiler tune-ups. If it's boilers that are for space heating, you could do it once every 3 years. And if it's process, you can engage once every 2 years on a boiler tune-up. Boiler space heating, we pay up to $500 per boiler. And for process boilers, certainly up to $1,500. Then we have steam traps. So if you have boilers and you have steam traps in your process, certainly it's a big win for us on energy savings for failed open, failed open steam traps that aren't operating correctly. Highly encourage that. It's not only water conservation, but it's also saving natural gas. And then if it's not rebatable, if it doesn't show up on a rebate list, it becomes a custom incentive. And I've done a lot of different types. So if you feel that your project is going to save natural gas, contact the program. We'll pre-apply with the scope of work. It'll run through our engineers. They'll do calculations for you to incent you to move forward. And then we pay 80 cents a therm saved if it's above 15,000. So, and there's always new ideas, right? New things going on in the marketplace. bring them to us. We also have an emerging technology group that will look into it, do white papers on it if it qualifies. But contact the programs. Facility assessments. So we offer, this is a ratepayer funded program, so you're paying into it. So we have energy engineers that will come on site, they'll customize a report to your site, looking at the natural gas equipment, and possibly might save electric too on the electric side, but the focus is natural gas. And we'll prepare a report that you can use to take to the planning table that'll show ROI, payback, CO2 reduction, all those good things in it that can help you as a tool customized to your site. And this is kind of the first start that I say for customers on the roadmap. Engage, get your free assessment, look at your findings, look at what monies you can get. We are also Department of Energy approved as clear result to do, if you get grant funding, we can do a study that they use to apply for the grant that's approved. Then we have a strategic energy management. So you have just simple measures like boiler, replacement, things like that. Strategic energy management program picks up where it's more behavioral, right? Maybe you can set back your PSIG on your from your boiler to your steam traps to save energy. Maybe it's simply lighting. It's a joint program with ComEd, so it looks at both things on behavioral, it tracks projects. It's just a great way. They meet once a month. It brings the team together. So it's just, think about looking at your fuel type, looking at your utility, as long as you're paying in the program. There's other programs available like retrocommissioning studies that aren't on here. And, reach out to someone to help, identify ways you can save energy. All right, with that being said, I'm going to introduce Patrick.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and talk a little bit about our association. We are actually celebrating our 100-year anniversary this year. Storied institution, been around, like I said, for 100 years. We're approximately 800 to 1,000 manufacturing members local to the area, the 6 collar counties, and small to mid-sized manufacturers is kind of our sweet spot. We don't really do too much with the bigger companies, the Deeres and the Cats, but small, mid-sized, 50 to 100, 250 employees is kind of our sweet spot. We do a lot of work with them, provide them a lot of resources, and one of the things that we're really proud of is the fact that we have an apprenticeship program and at TMA that's been around for probably 70 years. And within our program, we have 3 different categories. It's tool and die making, it's mold making, and it's CNC programming and machining. We're always looking to grow that program, jump into some robotics, automation, all the things that local manufacturers need to help them stay relevant, stay connected, and stay current. One of the biggest problems for our members out there today is the workforce, and it's filling the skills gap, and they have a really hard time finding students in that space. And once they do, if they can work with us, we can help them find qualified students, but basically once they get them, they can send them to TMA and put them into our program. We've been doing this for a long time. It's a 3-year apprenticeship program where students work full-time during the day in their manufacturing facility and then come to TMA at nighttime for the related theory instruction and the hands-on CNC training too. We've always been told that if our members can find more apprentices and put more people into the training program, it enables them then to go out and be able to bring in more work into their manufacturing facilities. So it's a big problem. The skills gap, filling it, and we collectively kind of work in that space together to try and solve that problem. Our relationship with COD is phenomenal. We do things in spaces that they don't do, and likewise, where we can't in the mechatronics and in the maintenance and things like that, we've come together where we've actually kind of partnered to be able to provide that level of training to our TMA members. So again, it's a wonderful relationship that we have with them. We advocate for small to mid-sized manufacturers down in Springfield. We work on different bills so that we can keep Illinois manufacturing trucking along in Illinois. We have grown out of the Illinois space a little bit. We actually are in 15 different states at this time. It's difficult to be able to provide that level of training there, so we're looking to try and get into a little bit more in the online training space too, to be able to connect them into training opportunities that we're so well known for back at TMA. We're headquartered in Schaumburg. We're a very small staff, very lean, very efficient, and I could talk about training all day because it's one of the things that I kind of came up through before I took over the helm at TMA. I was the Director of Training and Education, bringing back the storied apprenticeship program, but also bringing in advanced equipment so that our students could learn on that equipment and go back to their shops, go back to their manufacturing facilities, and be able to bring those new skills back to make the facilities more efficient in what they do and what they're able to provide. We have recently expanded our training services too, and we do a lot on the kind of supervisory, the soft skills kind of training side, but we have a wonderful relationship with Judson University, where we offer our manufacturing leadership program. And for individuals who are looking for opportunities to try and step up their skill set, step into a leadership role, and to kind of take the reins as more and more people get ready to retire, they want to have those opportunities, and they might have the necessary skill sets. So we go into everything from marketing, lean, sales, finance for non-financial managers, and we pull it all together into a wonderful, I think it's a 10-month program at this stage, and great feedback from those individuals too. But I could go on and on and on talking about TMA. There's a lot of information on the slides, but I'm happy to answer questions as we get into this later. I was in one of the original planning sessions, and really excited to hear about the ideas and the research that's happening out there. And I know that our members would be really excited to hear about that. You know, coatings on toolware. You know, what can they do to prolong their tooling life and again make them a little bit more profitable, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And I think we've gone through the apprenticeship training, our technical, non-tech, online we're looking to get into. We do a lot of custom training too, that if a manufacturer has a specific problem, they can reach out and contact us too. We have a foundation that we're really proud of, that we support local area high schools and trying to bring back manufacturing programs to the region. You know, it was decimated over the last 10, 20 years, but we've seen a huge uptick in that again, and we send out some prints for high schools to machine their projects to. We bring those students and manufacturers together in kind of an in-person interview with the parts that they've machined, and our employers will talk about you know, what they do on a daily basis and what kind of hiring needs they have, and it always results in job offers to young people. Those young people usually end up coming back to TMA, back into our apprenticeship program, so it's a win-win for everybody else. And most of our stuff is DOL certified. We're really proud of that. We're looking to grow that. And again, we can't do everything for everybody, but again, it's the partnerships with the likes of COD and their maintenance training program that we're really excited about as we move forward. Happy to answer questions as we move forward, but I think I'll turn the mic back over, and thank you again for the opportunity.
All right, I'm last up. Good morning, everyone. My name is Willette Legrand, and I have the privilege of being the District Director for the Small Business Administration in the great state of Illinois. So the SBA is a federal agency, and I'm always surprised by the number of people that don't know that. We have a singular focus of supporting small businesses. Most of you in the room know that our economy is held up by small businesses. 2 out of every 3 jobs comes from a small business. So small businesses aren't quite small. They're doing great things. So we don't do this work alone. I have a couple of colleagues, I believe they're still in the back. So SBA has partnerships with just any number of organizations, but we also have really resource partners that we partially fund. And I'd like to acknowledge a couple of them in the back. Our Apex Accelerator. I see Donna. I thought I saw, please stand up, please stand up. Don't be shy. Let me click. Thank you for all the work that you do. So I'm going to, in the interest of time, I'm going to breeze through my slides really quickly. Again, Small Business Administration here to help businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. And we do this, I always like to talk about it in terms of the 4 C's. The 4 C's are counseling, capital, contracting, crisis. We've talked a little bit about the Apex Accelerator. I won't go into that, but they do a phenomenal job in terms of helping small businesses get ready for contracting, federal government being one of the #1 resources for services and materials that small businesses can tap into. Counseling. We have more than 38 locations across the great state of Illinois. We have 11 Apex Accelerators. We have 6 ITCs, International Trade Centers, and we have Small Business Development Center. One of the things that, when I took this position almost 2 years ago, prior to that, I used to work at the Department of Commerce, specifically the Census Bureau, as the Deputy Chief for Data Collection, and then I was a small business owner for about 8 years. And I will tell you, I had no idea that the Small Business Administration existed, nor did I have any idea that they offered so many free services. If I had known that, I probably would be on the other side of this podium today. But I am thrilled to be with you. I want to talk a little bit about capital. SBA we don't do any direct loans as it relates to just regular small business loan. We do direct loans as it relates to disaster loans, but we're often considered the loans of last resort. And that's because the #1 thing that lenders want to reduce, guess, what's the one thing that lenders want to make sure that they minimize? Risk, absolutely. So what does SBA do? We guarantee those loans. We guarantee them up to 75% and 85%, depending on which size of the loan. So again, one of the best kept secrets out there. We don't want it to be a secret anymore. So if you are a small business and you want to scale up, you want to go to the next level, because cash flow is a major thing. That's what helps you get to the next level. You need to make sure you're considering asset management, you're considering going to a reliable source in terms of your loans. And so the federal government, your taxpayer dollars at work, is certainly here to support you. We also do micro loans up to $50,000, community advantage loans, and 504 loans to help you purchase real estate, et cetera. So I want to talk to you really very briefly about what I'm here for today. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I came across this summit. So just, online, just Googling and looking, finding out what the world's up to. And I came across this summit, and I reached out to the organizers, who, by the way, are phenomenal. I will say to the leadership here, this is an incredible team. And I told them I have an assignment. So as you all may or may not know, the Made in America initiative is the #1 initiative of this administration. And so as district director, I was given an assignment along with the other 68 district directors across the state, not across the state, across the nation, to go talk to manufacturers, to find out what is it that they're challenged with, what are some of their barriers, what are some of the things that, that's preventing them from getting to the next level. I mentioned earlier that SBA is an advocate for small businesses. That's one of the reasons that we exist, one of the primary reasons we exist. So I was given the assignment to start these listening sessions, and I find out, much to my surprise and pleasure, is that you all College of DuPage was already doing just that. So I'm looking forward to your conversations after this session. I will be taking those back to my leadership. And again, the SBA does have the ability to advocate for small businesses. And so that's one of the things that I'm hoping to get out of here. I'm looking forward to talking to you, each of you one-on-one also. So just really quickly, a couple of things that SBA is doing to advance the Made in America initiative is that we have already put forward a bipartisan Made in America Manufacturing Finance Act. I talked about our loans earlier. So our loans typically go up to, our 7A and 504, that is, they go up to $5 million. And what we're trying to do specifically for manufacturing is elevate that to $10 million. Again, that is a process. Legislation always is. But we are trying diligently to make sure that manufacturers have the resources they need to, in fact, excel. The other thing that we're doing is that we recognize that manufacturing needs support. We have been incredibly successful with our small business development centers, our APEX, our ITCs across the nation and here in Illinois. And what we're trying to do is give more technical assistance to manufacturers. So about 2 months ago, we put out what's called a Notice of Funding Award. And we are going to be awarding 3 grants in the amount of $1.1 million. We were absolutely floored by the responses that we received. We had hoped to already have announced this award by now, but because of the overwhelming amount of response, there are a lot of folks out there that want to help you manufacturers, and a lot of incredibly skilled organizations that are ready, able, and willing to do so. So we'll be announcing those 3 grants really soon. The other thing that I want to talk about is the red tape hotline. How many manufacturers do I have in the room? Okay, so this is for you. So this red tape hotline, you know when you're frustrated and you're talking to your spouse at the end of the day and you're complaining about the federal government, you're complaining about, you don't act like you don't do it, because you do. You're complaining to your kids, you're complaining to anyone who will listen. What we want you to do now is to pick up the phone or send an email to us and give us specific examples of what is that thing that is frustrating you. Why, when you're telling your spouse or whomever, why does federal government make me fill out 14 forms in order to do this? And why do they have this fee and that fee? And why do I have to be an expert in this or hire a consultant in order to, adhere to whatever the regulations might be? So this administration is absolutely dedicated to making sure that we're reducing regulation, the burden that keeps you from doing the thing that you want to do. So we have created this red tape hotline. You see the number here. There's a phone number and also an email address. I encourage you to use it. It was designed for you. And yes, we do read it. Yes, the administrator gets regular reports on it. We are actively looking at this, and we're looking at the trends across the nation in terms of what we're hearing here today. So please make sure that you're using that. So the other thing two other things real quickly that I wanted to talk about. So we just recently announced our onshoring portal, which connects small businesses with a database of more than 1 million domestic suppliers, which empowers manufacturers, job creators to support the shift in supply chains. We recognize that there certainly can be some challenges as it relates to getting materials made in America. So we've created this resource for you to go and source out materials for you. The other thing that was just recently came out, I just learned of it just late yesterday, was we have a press release now out. We have an MOU with the Department of Labor. Manufacturing, we can talk about manufacturing all day long, and our president just talked about it in his opening remarks, but you cannot do manufacturing unless you have a skilled workforce to support it. You cannot do that. So we have partnered with the Department of Labor to advance that initiative, and so I'm hoping to come back to you and be able to talk to you more about that later on. So thank you for your time. I encourage you to please be candid and honest, and I will be taking copious notes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Willette. Thank you, Chris and Marcia from Argonne. Thank you, Amy from NICOR, Patrick from TMA. Thank our presenters, please. Thank you all. You likely have questions. We're going to see if we can weave those into the exercise that Kate Calabro is going to lead us through here momentarily. I think folks will be sticking around. If you miss any of them, just reach out to one of us from the college. We'll put you in touch. The resources they're talking about, I know there are many others in the room, are quite unique. We have visitors from across the world come visit us all the time, and they say, tell me about the SBA, tell me about the labs, tell me about your associations. They can't believe what we have available for businesses. But as people have said, frequently it's still somehow a secret. We don't want it to be a secret anymore. And so part of connecting to these resources is critical. We're also working on something Patrick hinted at, which is rebranding these jobs. We have amazing jobs right here in our district, right here in the state. They pay well. They're not dirty labs anymore. So part of what we do is we're trying to rebrand it and introduce people to manufacturing early on. I want to show you a quick video at that, about what we're up to.
Today we have our first Boy Scout Merit Badge here in the Tech Building. So there are 12 Scouts from Boy Scouts of America here earning their welding and metalwork merit badges. So they're going to be doing different activities in the welding lab and the manufacturing lab to earn those badges.
I'm willing to bet at least 3 of you in this room are making something that's going to get us to Mars.
Our goal to get kids here on campus to see what we have and get them thinking about what they might want to do in their future. And then also we wanted to give the Scouts an opportunity to obtain a badge that's more difficult to get because they often don't have the welding equipment.
The rest is going to be 2 directions.
Oh yeah, so much better.
Nice.
Maybe I'll walk down.
Bye.
We have one of the best labs in the United States for mechanical maintenance. Mechanical maintenance takes electronics, hydraulics, pneumatics, welding, and compiles it all into one spot. You're building people that are going to keep our assembly lines rolling, to be able to fix things, to make things go, move, to process, improve things, quality, all those things we learn in school, statistics, analysis. Now they're putting it together in an actual object where they get to do those kind of things.
Today I am making a camp stove so that we can bring it on campouts and make food. I don't really know what I expected. I definitely didn't expect any of this. I like this because it was more hands-on than a lot of the other ones, and I'm really happy that I got to make something and take it home.
I guess it was just within our troop. It was one of our announcements, like that there's a workshop being held at COD, and so I was excited with all like the cool labs and all the different tools we get to use. There's just so many more resources. It's obviously a longer class, and it's just like I feel like it's more of a journey and more you get to learn and like expand from.
So our goal to work with different credit divisions across the campus who have different programs that they can offer to get kids here on campus to see what we have and get them thinking about what they might want to do in their future.
Right now our country's 250,000 welders short. Welding is a huge opportunity. With our current move to Mars, aerospace stuff, that's work for Boilermakers. It's beyond just welding. We need to teach machines how to weld, how to do that kind of stuff for us. So there is outstanding opportunities.
Thank you. I see we have some talent in the room. There's Dave. You saw a fraction of our capabilities. Really, please go join us on our tours. And it's worth noting what you'll see in manufacturing we have in healthcare, public safety, culinary. So we have state-of-the-art facilities across the board to try to support to develop the future talent pool. I'm going to turn it over to Kate Calabra, CEO of Illinois Science and Technology Coalition, to hear directly from you. So Kate, please. Yep, that'll be.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. You have all been such great listeners for the last hour. Bear with me for 3 more minutes, and then you get time to talk. Like Joe said, my name is Kate Calabra. I'm the CEO of the Illinois Science and Technology Coalition. We are a nonprofit that has been around for about 36 years, and we were created to be a convener and a connector of the Illinois innovation ecosystem. We do that across 4 pillars: innovation, data, education, and advocacy. And while we do run some really fun programs of our own, 9 times out of 10, we are not going to be the expert. Instead, we lean on our friends, like the folks on the stage, to create programs with us or to refer our partners to them. And so today I'm going to briefly go through a program that we run, which is an example of a successful intervention that came about because of a conversation like we've had today. The Illinois Innovation Voucher Program is something that was a brainchild back in 2018, finally made it to the state legislation in about 2021, 2022, and then the funding finally came to the state in 2024, and now ISTC has been running this program for about 1.5 years. So what is it? We recognize there was a big problem in Illinois. It's been talked about today how Illinois is the 5th largest state economy. However, we were underperforming when it came to R&D activity. We were ranking closer to 9th or 10th across the nation. So to close that gap and to be more competitive in the space, we wanted to think through how we could develop a program that better incentivized R&D or helped to break down some of the barriers that were preventing companies, whether it was a small company, medium company, new company, old company, from being able to achieve their R&D goals. And what we identified was Illinois is flush with expertise, equipment, and facilities within our university ecosystem, but cost is often a barrier. So what we've been able to do is create a voucher program that will give companies under 500 employees $75,000 to partner with a university to leverage that faculty, staff, equipment, or facilities to help their R&D dreams come true. Eligibility is pretty broad. Like I said, you just have to be an Illinois-based company under 500 people. We are industry agnostic, though we tend to lean towards the stronger industries in Illinois that the state is focused on to improve our overall economic development, but we've seen everything across the spectrum. The voucher covers quite a bit. Outside of your general overhead costs, like the salaries of your own company, your rent, or covering like your Google Suite or Microsoft, we cover quite a bit. We will cover the salaries of the university partners. We will cover rental space for the facilities, rental space for equipment. We even cover the cost of purchasing certain equipments. And so what this allows is for companies to get past that initial stage of proof of concept or prototyping or beta, and they really get to expand their own expertise by leaning on this partner that otherwise would have been inaccessible to them. So essentially we say that the voucher is a coupon or a discount code to work with this partner that otherwise would have been a little too expensive. And we've seen some great success. We funded $3 million worth of partners last year. We'll do another $3 million this year and another $3 million next year. And that totaled to about 35 companies last year that we supported, and we'll do about the same this year. So I mention this because, again, it started as a brainstorm like this. So I was so happy when our partners came to us thinking through how this program could be a model for a potential solution to something else. Marcia said it best earlier, if we can solve one problem, we can solve another. So this is one that we've solved or at least chipped away at, and now we want to see what kind of interventions we could apply within the manufacturing realm. So you might not have known that you signed up for a discussion today, but you did. Here we are. You are at tables. And so we're going to go through a facilitated discussion to help to identify what the most pressing issues are in your day-to-day, and then brainstorm some solutions that might be a good fit. And you've got this panel of experts up here to provide some feedback. They can raise their hand and say, oop, that already exists, or yes, that's a great idea. How can we work on that together? So the goal here, again, identify those challenges and identify the solutions, and then we want to take those actionable insights to continue these conversations. You might have noticed in my timeline, I said we started talking about vouchers in 2018, and it is 2025. So these things take time, but we're in the beginning stages right now, and we're just looking forward to see where it goes. So, first part of this facilitated discussion. You will work with the folks at your table. If you're solo at a table, feel free to hop to the one next to you, or feel free to be an independent contractor on this. We'd like you guys to assign a scribe, someone to take some notes, and then think through these 3 categories that we've identified as the likely top challenges within the manufacturing ecosystem right now. R&D investment. Are there obstacles to getting funding for this? Tech infrastructure needs. Are there obstacles to being able to have the right resources within your facility, and how can we break down those barriers? Or another one that's come up quite a bit today, workforce and training. Do we have the right people and the right skills to move manufacturing forward? So I'm going to step aside. You're going to have a mystery amount of time, 5, 10 minutes, I'm not going to say, but talk amongst yourself, and then we'll have at least 2 tables report out how you ranked these, which one was your most pressing issue, and why. Have fun. Hope you all we're able to commiserate with each other in identifying some of these challenges. Now we're going to just take a minute to hear what some of your conclusions were. So we'll select a couple of tables and have you share what these challenges were. We've got a microphone in the back that'll be sent to you, and we'll be taking copious notes to make sure we capture the themes that you all share. Is there a table that is excited about going first? Otherwise, I'll volunteer. There we go.
Who's going?
Good morning. Thanks for making time. We've got a diverse table here, folks from TMA, folks from industry, folks from education. In our conversation, we started out with a bunch of diverse areas and stuff, but we found a common thread, and that thread was risk, right? Whether it be cybersecurity, whether it be logistics, right? Finding our future workforce. We talked about how to engage and stuff like that, right? So I think risk is one of the areas we need to explore and to better understand. Is that meeting the goal you had set for us?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think you kind of bundled all three in one and found something that was the thread between them. So that's a very interesting approach to it. Let's find another table that would like to share. Go ahead, that was a quick hand raise.
The ice was broken, thank you for that. So our group here is from the same company, Crescent Technologies, so we kind of live and breathe these problems that we have. I would say the R&D investment is number one for us. We do all of our own R&D funding. And when we have client funding, typically they want a piece of the action. They want the IP, or they want some of this or some of that. So that's a struggle for us. The other part of that, and I don't know where this fits, but we do some international business, Canada, Europe, and those places. Those require a lot of certifications, CSA, CE certifications. We've been getting by with paying bits and pieces of that as we ship parts or generators to these different places. You can get a one-time inspection, $4,000 a piece. They come out. That gets pretty expensive. We want to get the full-blown, but it's expensive. It's $100,000 for each of those certifications by the time you get done. So those are some struggles. The last one I would say is the workforce and talent. If you guys know of any good RF engineers, raise your hand. I want to talk to you. We just have a heck of a time finding very high-skilled engineers in the RF sector. So thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, that's great. And you actually identified a fourth bullet that we took off, and that was the administrative, bureaucratic pieces of it. So it sounds like not only spending the time to do those registrations and applications, but the investment that goes into it is a sticking point.
Monica from the ITC, will you raise your hand? If you're not already working with the Illinois International Trade Center, see if they can be of assistance. You're welcome.
All right, we'll take one more.
All right, we're right here, so thank you. We are a mix of industry, education, academia, both community college and university. And we actually talked about all of this, but in a slightly different context. We are Midwest nice. We don't necessarily tout our own horn. We don't necessarily do a good job of marketing all of the opportunities. And very often when we're talking about this, we're not recognizing that we may not be ready for innovation. And so I mentioned that there's a website called Stats America, STATS.America. It's run by the U.S. Economic Development Administration, but on it, it has something called the Innovation Index, and it tells you how ready a community is to innovate. And this region does really well at having the tools and the talent, but not necessarily being ready to talk about innovation. And part of that is because we're not marketing ourselves. When we think about how we work in silos. We don't necessarily reach across. And so that's part of what everybody's experiencing. But we also talk about manufacturing in hands-on application when it's an entire industry that hires students across the field. So if you're studying English, there's a job for you in manufacturing just as much as if you want a hands-on application. And so that we need to be more expansive in how we talk about the industry, more inclusive in terms of who we're bringing to the table, and more willing to take risk in terms of the innovation and what we're willing to promote. And so we thought that those are some of the challenges that we're tackling with and would want to address.
Great. So we heard risk echoed again across all three. We also heard workforce and talent, and then a little bit about stakeholder engagement and partnerships. I want to give panelists just an opportunity if you have feedback on those, if those themes are within your work, if you have existing resources you'd like to share for those challenges, or if you'd just like to give a big nod of the head that yes, those are problems.
We're doing the bobblehead.
All right, we've got 5 bobbleheads. All right, so the next portion of this, now that you've identified some of those challenges, is thinking through what your ideal solutions are. Now, we're not asking you to come up with a full-blown scope of work for the solution, but what are some of the themes of what you need to tackle these problems? So is it something within your walls that you need to do differently? Or is it something that needs to invite those stakeholders to the table? And who are the stakeholders that you felt a little too distant from? Maybe you learned something here today that there are resources and people that you haven't had an opportunity to access yet. And then talk about any successful models that you've seen in other states that are solving the issues that you've identified, or models here in Illinois that might be tackling it for a different industry that could pivot and be applied within manufacturing. Something like the Illinois Innovation Voucher Program. Think through those, provide your suggestions, and we'll do the same thing. We'll do a call out of 3 or 4 different tables to hear your ideas, and then let the panelists give some feedback of how they would see themselves playing a role in that kind of solution, or what barriers we know exist to creating that kind of solution. So you've got a mystery time frame coming up, so continue your conversation and we'll check back in a little bit. All right, sounds like it's getting quieter. We'll go ahead and start doing some report outs. Wow, a hand is already up. Mic in hand too.
I think you're next. Yeah, my name is Eric Canada, and one of the things that continues to come up, not only in my environment, but I talked about it for a moment at the table, is it relates to workforce, but it's the issue of knowledge transfer. It's taking all the old guys in all the shops I work with and figuring out how to get the information out of them. And it's not a technical problem. I can solve the technical problem today. The technology exists. The issue is I need to put together the team that can get behind the psychology of this process. And we need funding of some sort to be able to do that. It would solve problems across multiple industries if we could think more deeply about knowledge transfer.
That's a great suggestion, and the fact that you mentioned the psychology of it, because not everyone is a teacher. Not everyone can download their brain into a student or apprentice's brain. That's a special skill that has to be learned. And not only that, it takes time out of the workday to do this. So that's a great one, knowledge transfer in the workforce. All right, who else? Joe's got one over there.
Hi, so our table represents academic context, and then as well as some small business manufacturing owners, some high-end manufacturing, and then business lending services. So we have a nice diverse mix here. And one of the things that we talked about was that there might be grant funding opportunities, so that's great, and information can be provided, especially to small businesses, so they can get all this information about funding sources, but then how do they act on it? How do they execute it? Especially when you have that administrative burden as a small business owner, you might not have the bandwidth to be able to take that on. So then, of course, partnering with academic institutions, well, that's a great concept, and it happens. Sometimes there's also internal challenges with the bandwidth within the institution itself as well. So, we talked a lot about, also the importance of cross-pollination, of sharing of ideas, of coming together at places like this, and making sure that all people are invited to the table, including those who help on the financial end with working with small businesses. And then finally, apprenticeship opportunities, that's a great way to partner again with academic institutions, but you have to have people in place who can manage those. So once again, apprenticeships are awesome, But in order to execute them and keep up with all of the requirements of it, especially if it's a DOL one, then you have to have people in place for that.
That's great. So apprenticeships echoed this concept that apprenticeship isn't a silver bullet. It's kind of like when a company says, I want to hire an intern. That doesn't necessarily save you time or get the work done. It's a nurturing relationship. So you're putting more on your plate to kind of raise this new professional. And then I'm hearing you say that there probably are existing resources, but it feels like access to those resources is really challenging. And that's actually something that came up on stage with us as everyone was talking. We recognize that a lot of businesses are constantly applying for a new program, and it can not only be exhausting, but it can be confusing. So how can we streamline those processes across different administrations and different organizations that have these funding resources or technical assistance? It's one thing to generate awareness, it's another to actually go through the process, and we could probably perform better in both areas. Panelists, anything to add to those two so far, and then we'll take a couple more? All right. You guys have become the experts.
Can I just put a shout out
Yeah.
to Becky Bars in the room, one of the leads to the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. That's a great example of a grant that was not easy to write and go through the whole processes, but we've got 6 colleges collaborating, plus industry partners, NICOR, plus community-based organizations. And I think one of the key takeaways for everyone here is you don't have to figure out how to do this, how to access all of these different groups. Just reach out to any of us and we'll help you navigate these resources.
Hi, everyone. We might be, or I might be an oddball here because I'm actually a food manufacturer. And so I guess the question and the answer, the question previously and the answer we came up with here as a table is maybe unique to us, but we are in a place in the Chicagoland area and in Illinois where we have a huge number of food manufacturers here, and I think that's well known. But the resources supporting food manufacturers is very limited. It's surprising to me when I look that we don't even have a pilot plant in the Illinois area, because UIUC has one, but they admitted to me that they're tuned for large manufacturers. They're not like focused on small manufacturers. I'm based at the Hatchery Chicago, which is an incubator here, but in terms of manufacturing food, I think my answer would be the second one. We really need to build more infrastructure to support them. We were just talking about a story from yesterday where there's a food manufacturer in the hatchery who had a problem, but in order to solve that, the answer that everyone gave them was to buy a giant, $50,000 machine, which is not reasonable. So having access to resources that could help them problem solve at their level, at that like smaller level, is very, very critical. And I feel like especially in Illinois, where we do have so many food manufacturers, we really need more resources focused on that specific industry group. And yes, we do. We also talked about workforce development. We've got workforce development folks here, but in food manufacturing, I think it's a lot more about the machinery and the kind of trying to problem solve for various different kinds of systems.
That's great. So that one sounds like it would require different stakeholder engagement and just a different distribution of resources across industries, so things aren't so concentrated in one geographic area and then inaccessible to someone who is needing that resource from afar.
Especially in Chicagoland, yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, we got one in the back. Oh, hi, Eileen.
Hello. Just to piggyback on what he's saying, I think sometimes the divide comes in manufacturing and food processing. And as you start going down the dynamics of it, they really do collide, but its food processing is really overlooked. But they have that staging of equipment. So I think that that's where the breakdown comes in, am I right? So that's what I would like to see. I've been tapped into the hatchery, so I've been able to see it up close and personal, and I can't find any resources anywhere for them because they're not considered manufacturing. I think that needs to come to an end.
Interesting. All right, another table. Raise your hand nice and high. All right, we haven't heard from you folks in the back there.
Hi. So our group, we have kind of people from the SBA. We have people in business. I'm in education. I work at Harper College. And we already talked about making some collaborations here. I think, and I know, I'm from Harper College. I know we worked with College of DuPage quite a bit. I'm going to tap us in. As a business, when I have businesses come to me and say, hey, I need someone who needs, they need an Agile Certified Practitioner certification. Can you give that to them? It's very easy for us to make those certifications quickly. So with continuing professional education, I know here it's community education, we can help support you. So please use your community colleges, reach out to us, let us know what you're looking for. You're all identifying their skill gaps. We can help with them. But we are not the experts, we are not in your industry. But if you tell us what we need, what you need, we can help support that. You know, if someone is missing something specifically in welding, you know, here they have a great welder teacher over here. I remember your tour from like earlier in the year. But we're here to help you. You don't have to look that far. You have community colleges all over the state. If you are in the Palatine area, Harper College is here for you. College of DuPage is here for you. We're working on CEJA with College of DuPage, but please access us because we're happy to help you.
Perfect. All right, we have time for one more. Joe's got 'em.
All right, good morning. I'm Aliona Fiorita. I'm here with Amy and Adela from the NICOR Energy Efficiency Programs. We were a mighty table of 3, now we're a mighty table of 2. But circling back to the first question, one of the first priorities that we actually identified was around workforce and talent. More so around the fact that us programs, and I'll speak specifically just to NICOR and put a shameless plug in there, but we typically give at least $4 to $5 million back to our customers every single year. However, the biggest challenge that we see are 2 things. One is knowledge transfer as well, them actually being aware of our programs, and 2 is having that dedicated person, or I guess even if it's perceived that, oh, I need to add more work to my workload already, or I don't have an energy manager that could specifically do this and get us the money back. I would say ultimately, what can we do to kind of address that is 2 things, and what we have also seen work well with some of the other associations, like the restaurant associations, and even some of the smaller business associations as well, is one is educating. So I welcome you all to come see my 2 rock stars between Amy and Adela. They'll be more than happy to come and speak to any events to further educate and build on what Amy already presented at a very high level on all the money that we can actually give. Because the second challenge that we identified was technology and the technology advancement. All too often, it's because they don't have the capital. Well, if there is money out there and funding is really easy to actually participate, then maybe perhaps we can close the gap on technology advancement as well. And one thing that at NICOR, what we have done as feedback from you all is kind of to address the concerns about not having that individual to do all of this paperwork and the admin. Amy, Adela, and I have 3 other rock stars on my team will be more than happy to actually help you through that process, and even filling out the applications. And all too often, the only thing that our customers, who by the way are paying into this program, so we're just giving the money back to them, all they have to do is acknowledge that work was done and sign at the end and provide us with an invoice to basically say, yep, work is done. And then we have a very big team that does all the calculations and for the energy saved and everything else. But ultimately, to quickly, I guess, shorten the gap is come see us. I think we can certainly help both with that workforce and talent gap, at least from the admin piece, and we can also help with the capital, which could hopefully minimize some of the risk as well. Thank you.
That was great, thank you. So I think some general themes that we're hearing is the need to streamline awareness to some of the programs that do exist, create some more access to people who can support application processes. And then we heard a lot about that the piece about people and being able to have the knowledge transfer in terms of an apprenticeship and really building up that workforce. So I will assign to this unofficial task force, there's probably ways that we can consolidate that information for existing resources and then continue to identify the gaps of what still needs to be brought into existence and how there can be cross-sector stakeholders that are doing that together. So like I mentioned before, we're really hopeful that this is the first of many conversations like this, and we can keep whittling down the needs in the manufacturing sector and come up with new solutions and amplify some of the existing solutions. So I'd like to thank all of you for being here today, doing this collective brainstorm / group therapy with each other and sharing your thoughts out, because it's really going to contribute to what comes next for Illinois and how we can better support this sector that really is part of our backbone. So thank you for being here today.
And thank you to Kate, wonderful job. Thank you to each of our panelists and to your organizations for all you do for manufacturing. If you're interested in seeing our facilities, come to this table here in the middle where Dave is. We'll give you a tour. It'll blow you away if you haven't seen it. We'll follow this up with an email summary of the day. We've recorded it. You can share it with your colleagues. I think we can likely make the presentations all available, right? So we'll get you all of that. We thank you for being here. I showed you some of the numbers of how productive Illinois and the Midwest is. Where does that go when we're actually really working together and collaborating? That's the exciting future. So thank you all so much. Oh, thank you to our AV team, to the continuing education team, to the food service folks, facilities. As Marcia mentioned, it was only a few weeks ago that we started the idea behind this. So thank you all for being here, and thanks for everyone for making it possible. Thank you. And please feel free to come talk to our experts.